Is this not the kind of Toronto Maple Leafs update that you wanted to see? Because in this video, what we're going to do is give a little bit of a reminder as to what's been going on and some of the recent things that were talked about in regards to this situation as it pertains to Toronto Maple Leafs captain John Tavares. Now, as we have been following the scoop with this team over the past few weeks, John Tavares, his name isn't really in the news for the reason that we're going to be talking about him in today's video. Rather, he is in the news quite frequently because everybody's talking about whether or not he should go, whether or not his future will be with the Toronto Maple Leafs, how much he'll re-sign for, and how much of a discount he's going to have to take. It's Tavares, and it's Marner, and it's the Maple Leafs, and it's their future, and it's all of these things that seem to bring themselves up in Maple Leafs discourse. But in this video, we're talking about the John Tavares tax issue that still is, according to some of the sources here, ongoing, and a quick little reminder as to what's going on. Behold, this article that was published yesterday on The Athletic, Anywhere But Canada, how a tax ruling could hobble pro teams north of the border. This was written by Dan Robson. It's going to be on The Athletic. The link is in the description if you want to read this yourself, but because it is The Athletic, we're not going to go out there and screenshot this piece. The article essentially, though, opens up by talking about the John Tavares contract situation. How, when he had signed his $11 million AAV deal that goes on till 2025, there were some complications with the salary bonuses and everything that are giving him some very big trouble nowadays. Now, the article in itself primarily uses this story to highlight the idea of a tax ruling that, in a way, can strongly hinder Canadian teams' abilities to sign players in free agency and actually have them as a valuable destination, etc., etc. But when you focus on what the article talks about with John Tavares, we're going to go out there onto an article on the Hockey Feed website, because this article cites the Robson Athletic piece and it gives us the quote about Tavares itself. This is just about Tavares. I don't want to go into the entire extra tax implication that this has for Canadian teams, but this is what Dan Robson talks about. According to a report from The Athletic, Dan Robson, Toronto Maple Leafs captain John Tavares owes over $8 million to the Canada Revenue Agency, an amount that Tavares himself is arguing. The CRA is contending that Tavares owes $8 million, but Tavares maintains that a provision in his contract entitles him to millions in tax savings. It's an ongoing case and one that could set a precedent for pro athletes in Canada. Now, we did talk about this when the reports initially were given out, and it was a really big deal, too. Like, hey, John Tavares owes millions of dollars to the CRA. But here is the latest as to what was published yesterday by Dan Robson. A key part in Tavares' decision to sign with Toronto was the belief that a provision in the U.S.-Canada tax treaty commonly used by professional athletes would essentially allow him to pay a lower tax rate on the initial $15 million signing bonus that he had received right away. This is not new. We acknowledge that when it comes to big contracts, they will typically give a lot of money up front at the beginning of the contract's date, and then pay the guy a much smaller amount of money throughout the year. So if Tavares is making $15 million on July 1st, it's a lot easier for the team to pay him only like let's say $1 million over the course of the actual season. And then as the years go on, the money gets a little bit less in the bonus and the per year payout side of things. But the AAV is the total amount of money that you pay divided by the number of years. So it averages out pretty nicely. But for John Tavares, he had a $15 million bonus at the very start of the deal. 6 years later, as the Leafs captain enters the final year of that contract, Tavares faces an $8 million tax bill for his homecoming. Tavares has disputed the CRA's assessment. It's one of several ongoing cases that challenge the ways that pro athletes have traditionally navigated higher tax rates north of the border. Here is another comment made from Dan Robson. Under that provision, a bonus paid from a team in one country to a resident of another is taxed at 15% to the country of the team paying the bonus. The athlete must still pay full income tax where they are a tax resident, but they are then eligible to receive a foreign tax credit for that 15%. The deal Tavares signed with the Leafs in 2018 was structured so that the majority would be paid as an annual lump sum bonus with a smaller portion as salary. In the first year of his contract, Tavares was given a bonus of $15.25 and a base salary of $650,000. For that $15.25 million bonus, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment paid $1.75 million to escrow and just over $2 million to the CRA. 15% as required by the US-Canada tax treaty. Tavares then received the balance of the signing bonus, roughly $11 million. So, okay, he already took a big chunk out of that $15 million signing bonus before receiving that money in 2018. However, that's when the article says, as a U.S. tax resident in 2018, Tavares paid U.S. federal tax and New York state tax a combined 46% on the gross amount of the bonus, less escrow. The foreign tax credit then applied in the U.S. for the Canadian income tax already paid. In total, Tavares paid roughly $5.9 million in taxes on that initial bonus. However, in late 2022, the CRA reassessed Tavares' 2018 tax obligation, saying that he owes $6.8 million in further taxes, plus more than $1.2 million in interest. That interest would still accrue if Tavares had not paid the tax bill immediately. And look, I am not a lawyer. I am not an accountant. I don't know much about the US-Canada tax treaty, bonus, payout, whatever, extra laws. I have my own incorporated business. I pay tax for myself personally. I pay tax for the business, and I do as much as I need to do to self-sustain a business run in the computer chair that I'm sitting in right here and on my laptop making YouTube videos. I know enough about this tax stuff to get me moving along, but for a multi-million-dollar athlete who is disputing the CRA over what is apparently $8 million, the $6.8 million plus the 1 point whatever interest that he has gotten, this is a really big deal. And we're gonna need some legal eagle type, really in-the-know accountants who deal with pro athletes to be able to access what is going on here and understand how everything works. I asked this in the comment section of the last video, and we did get some replies, not too many. If anybody is smart enough to actually understand what's going on with John Tavares, then hey, leave it in the comment section below. Try to break this down as best as you can, because I'm too stupid to go out there and try to do this in my own way. The best I got is what the Athletic article from Dan Robson went out there and said, and while it does make a little bit of sense, there still are some extra loops and hurdles, I feel, that fully need to be unraveled in order for us to fully get it. So, hey, I mean, I guess if John Tavares doesn't get it, then what are the odds that somebody else who is not in that position will get it either? I don't really know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about how John Tavares is still in trouble. He is still in this predicament with the CRA, and ever since late 2022, it seems like it's been going on, and is still going on to the point that now we have articles written about the Canadian tax laws and how it could be a pretty bad thing for Canadian teams wanting to sign top-tier free agents. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this John Tavares situation in Toronto, about the CRA, the tax system as a whole, and everything in between. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.